All right. Welcome to Father's House Fellowship. Who I am is really of no relevance or importance. Really, this is just to provide a common ground, place where people of all religious backgrounds, religious affiliations to congregate and meet. And it takes away the need to travel. So you don't have to get up and go to church. You don't have to get up and go to the synagogue or the masjid or the mosque, essentially, or any other religious meeting place. And basically just have somewhere to discuss, your religious background, your experiences, your ideas, your beliefs, etc., free from any judgment or ridicule, which is something that's, just to be honest, it is a part of human nature. But the idea is to take that away and allow people to come as they are, who they are, and be able to discuss how they truly feel, what the Creator has placed within them, and allow them to basically be able to share. So this won't be a case where it's all about me making videos. This will be essentially an allowance for you guys to release your own videos, connected with this page. Send them, necessarily if you have to me, and we'll go through them. Make sure everything is squared away, and we'll release them the same as this video. But just to jump right on the topic, and I appreciate you guys. I do want to say thank you. Um, the purpose. Let me start with this. The purpose for Father's House Fellowship, again, is to allow that common ground for people to congregate, but it's also to connect us. At this point, and this is essentially the topic, so I'm gonna just dive right into it as well. Conformity. The conformity of religion has divided people. It's divided people almost as much as ethnicity, sexual preference, etc. And this is a place designed to eliminate that. That is the purpose, in part, of Father's House Fellowship. Conformity, which does have its pros. Likewise, it has its cons. Um, and the conformity associated with religion is, if I believe in one specific thing and your beliefs differ from mine, then we're competing over who's right. And the original context of religion wasn't to serve that purpose. Religion, at least from the understanding that I've been blessed with by the Creator, was to guide people in certain directions, to have some type of impact or effect on people, to whereas it would lead them or alter what direction they were going in life at some point, even if just for a moment in time. That was the original purpose for it. So if, for example, I were a Christian and Christianity changed my life, altered my life, did something for me or to me, whatever the Creator had allowed it to do to me for whatever purpose He had it to serve, likewise, Islam has the ability to do that for someone else. Likewise, Hinduism, Buddhism has the ability to do that for someone else. Likewise, Judaism has the ability to do that for someone else. And every other religion, in which, not sure if you guys are aware, but there are thousands of religions scattered throughout the world. Now, of course, as you can tell, I'm a black American. I am black. I don't coin or necessarily follow the phrase of African American. Obviously, my genetic makeup has some association with it, but due to time and generational gaps, what I am in its entirety is probably lost. Um, so to break that separation gap, similar to that, as far as the idea of religion, Father's House Fellowship is here. This isn't a membership. This isn't a fraternity. This isn't a religion. This is an idea that I've been blessed with, that I'm hoping, praying essentially, that many other people across the world feel the same. I have a yearning within me for things like this. Something that I can't help, and it's always been there. And just like God has used Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism to direct and guide people in certain ways, likewise, he uses other things as well. Sometimes it's things that can be taken as positives, sometimes it's things that can be taken as negatives, but essentially they serve their purposes within our life. And that's the reason that they happen. Likewise, that is why this is happening. Just to get back on a specific topic, conformity, which is the title of this initial video. Like I said, conformity has its pros. Likewise, it has its cons. Conformity does allow people to have a commonality amongst each other, to whereas they have something that they can relate to one another with. That is definitely a pro of conformity. Likewise, if the majority believe the same things, or have the same preferences, etc., then it does allow people to have someone to support them, because there'll always be someone who has a similar, if not the exact same idea or feeling about something as they do. But the cons of conformity is conformity prevents evolution. Evolution is an eventual change that must take place in order for things to grow. And that is something that is needed. It is time. The idea of, because I believe this and you believe that, I have an eternal life waiting for me, while you have eternal damnation waiting for you, because we believe two separate things. It's time for it to go. If my God, or if my creator, no matter what my religion is all powerful, he's all knowing, he's omnipotent, that is in fact true, then whoever is the founder of my religion was created by him. Likewise, whoever the founder or creator of the other religions was created by that same God, or by that same creator. And that's something that people tend to overlook, and a lot of it is just through programming. If you grew up in a certain household that had a distinct belief or religious preference, if you grew up in an environment with one, then ultimately it had some type of impact on you. We even judge right and wrong based on those things. If Christianity had not been created and directed the course of the world and history in the way that it did, then who would say to steal is wrong? Who would say to covet thy neighbor's wife is wrong? Who would say that gluttony or deception or lying is wrong, had those things not been created? And that's the impact that it's had on the world. And God allowed that. God created it for those reasons and for those purposes. Whether they are specifically right or not in his eyes, or by the creator's eyes, I cannot say. But what I do know is he allowed them to exist, to direct us and guide us in certain ways. Simple as that. And that's an acknowledgement that has to go all the way around. I don't care what your religious preference is, or where you come from, what you were taught, what you were brought up on. Really makes no difference. It was allowed to exist. And the impact and the things that it has done for people and for the world as a whole is something that the Creator allowed for each one of these specific religions. And again, there are thousands of them. But to have the idea or the belief that if others have not conformed to your idea, your religion, your beliefs, that they are wrong. And that's where that stops. This is where that stops. It is time. the end of the day, we all believe in something. Even for those of us who are considered atheists or don't believe in, some all-powerful, all-knowing God in the cosmos somewhere directing and leading things, even if you're a person who has zero belief or faith in a higher power, this is a place for you. If you believe in the teachings of a prophet or a deity or some type of unpopularized religion, this is the place for you. If you are a Christian who believes but has questions, this is the place for you. Likewise, if you're a Muslim, if you're a Hinduist, if you're a Buddhist, if you're a Jew, makes no difference. This is the place for you. Conformity has divided us, and it's time for us to remove that division and be able to connect as one. As one. At the end of the day, it's not about who's right, it's not about who's wrong. It's about you as an individual and you being able to build a religion, or build a faith and a relationship with your creator. That's what it's about. There's not one book on this planet that can guide each and every person, for all the billions of people who have lived and have gone, for all the billions of people who still exist now. There's not one book that can simply guide and direct each individual person's religion, or relationship with their creator. That's what it's about. It's about building a relationship with the creator. And if there's not one book that can direct or guide each person in one direction to do that, and if each one of these books have been allowed to be created and exist to this day, then they all have a purpose. They all have a reason for being. And the creator did that. So from today forward, if you get a chance to watch this video, if you have anything within you that's telling you that anything that I'm saying is correct, anything within you saying that might be the place for us, come. It's not about me as an individual. It's not about you as an individual. It's about all of us. But in order for us to, as a whole, us as individuals have to come together and get right within ourselves. And this isn't designed to change anyone's religious background, change their religious preference, to question or to doubt anything you've been taught, anything within you. They all have purposes for existing within you. There's a reason why you were taught what you were taught, why you were directed or guided in the ways that you've gone up until this point. This isn't a way to change that. This isn't a way to make you question it, etc. It's just a way to open your mind so that you can understand things for what they truly are, not for what someone else wants to decide for them to be, not for what someone else told you they should be, not for me, not for anyone else, but for you, to build your own relationship with your creator. So like this video and every other video to come after, before you view this, if you viewed it more than once, pray. Ask God for understanding. Ask your creator for understanding. Afterwards, pray. Ask your creator for understanding, no matter who it is that you pray to. And whatever it is that's intended for you to get, I don't care if I speak for 20 minutes and only 20 seconds of it has an impact on you, then it served its purpose. All right? So just to get back into the topic, and I apologize, that's autopilot from time to time. The Creator has His way of leading and directing us in certain ways and using us in different ways. So, maybe this is just mine. Ultimately. Um, but I did want to touch on a few scriptures. This isn't from any specific religion. I'm actually going to read from the two most popularized religious books, one of which is the Holy Bible, and the other is the Islamic Quran. Um, Now, again, the title of this video again is Conformity, which hopefully you've gotten the purpose for this being the initial video and how it coincides with the creation of Father's House Fellowship. But I did want to read a few a few scriptures for you guys, just to kind of show you, even with your own religion may have even said to you pertaining to conformity, and forcing people to believe in things specifically, unquestionably, and having the idea that if anybody speaks, says anything against it, or says anything different from it, that they're wrong. And that's the most incorrect thing about religion of all. Okay? All right. So just to dive right into it, this again is the Christian Bible. Of course, this is the King James Version. I'm actually going to be reading from Romans chapter 12, verse 2. For those of you who are, Christians, or just are familiar with the Bible in general, you have one in your possession, feel like pulling one out, that's perfectly fine. You can read the same information. Okay? All right, so this is chapter 12, verse 2. This is specifically pertaining to conformity. Okay? It says, "And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of the mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God." Okay, and I'm going to read it one more time. Again, this is Romans chapter 12, verse 2. It says, "And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind." Of your mind. "That ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God." And that is directly from the King James Holy Bible. Now, I'm not going to sit here and give you my interpretation of it. Of course, and there's nothing wrong with it. I don't say this in any negative or adverse way, or to knock anyone down, to say anything against it. But when you go to church and you have a preacher who speaks to you, that preacher is giving you his interpretation, or the interpretation that God intended for him. That doesn't mean that that's the interpretation meant for everyone in his congregation. That's why people go to church and preacher may say a lot of things, but only a few things stick out, relate, and really push through to you or anyone else who's in the church, because it's only a certain bit of information that God has put into him that directly applies to you, to whereas it's supposed to have an effect. Okay? And it's not to knock the preachers, it's not to knock the ministers, it's not to knock Christianity in general, but it's to give you that idea of open-mindedness and the understanding that your relationship with your Creator is based on you. He will give you information. He will use tens of thousands of things. He'll use animate objects such as people. He'll use events. He'll use inanimate objects, an assortment of different things that's designed to mold you and guide you and push you in certain directions so that you get the understanding that is intended for you. Okay? That's all I'm saying. All right? I did have a few more. Here's another one. Specific. Again, this isn't something directly from the King James Version. Actually, this is from the English version. But Exodus chapter 23, verse 2 says, you shall not follow the masses in doing evil. Okay? Now, even if we take out the idea of doing evil from that, and just the idea of you shall not follow the masses, someone else is going to give you with their interpretation of evil. Someone may even come to you and tell you that this video that I'm essentially speaking on is evil. They may tell you that I'm evil. But who are they to say? Now, if the Creator gave them that idea or put that in their head, then the Creator had his or hers purpose for doing it. I'm not speaking against that, but I know what's been placed into me. I know what's in my heart. I know what's in my mind. I know what my spirit speaks to me about. So you follow your own interpretation. You follow what's in your mind, what's in your heart, what's in your spirit. That's it. Okay? All right, I have another one. Leviticus chapter 20, verse 23. And again, these are just excerpts. These aren't the entire chapters. These are just either entire verses or portions of verses that specifically deal with the idea of conformity. Leviticus chapter 20, verse 23. Moreover, you shall not follow the customs of the nation. Okay? Take from it what you will, whatever God has intended for you. Okay? Again, that's Leviticus chapter 20, verse 23. Moreover, you shall not follow the customs of the nation. Okay? And then, of course, there's 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 14. As obedient child, do not be conformed to the former lusts that were yours in your ignorance. Again, listen. This is 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 14. It says, as obedient child, do not be conformed to the former lusts which were yours in your ignorance. Take from it what you will. Okay? All right. So here's another one. Now this, of course, is from the Quran. It's from the Quran. Okay? All right. And we're going to be reading from the 10th book, or 10th chapter, verse 99. All right? Let's see if we can find this really quick. And I apologize, of course. Give me just a moment here. Take just a moment for me to find this for you. And again, this is all real life. I'm going purely based on the instincts and ideas and feelings and faith that the Creator's put in me. So there's no script for this. There's nothing. In the same way that I'm releasing this here on the internet, my intention is to take this to the street. I'm going to connect this with as many people as possible. For those of you who don't have a religious home, for those of you who are open-minded or considered more spiritual than religious, this is for you. This is for you. So let's connect, put our ideas together, and if you have a video similar to this, just like this, you want to discuss anything about your religious, beliefs, your ideas, something that the Creator's put in you to share, by all means. Okay? All right. So, this is Surah 10, again, verse 99, for those of you familiar with Islam. And had your Lord willed, those on earth would have believed, all of them together. Okay? One more time. Again, this is directly from the Quran. This is the 10th book, or the 10th chapter, verse 99. It reads in reverse, for those of you who aren't familiar with it. But it says, and had your Lord willed, those on earth would have believed, all of them together. Okay? Then I also have another one. There is no compulsion. Now, for those of you who don't know that compulsion is forcing. There is no compulsion in religion. And that's from the second book in the Quran, or the second chapter in the Quran, verse 256. Okay? And again, this is the Quran, directly from the Quran, the second book or second chapter, verse 256. And it says, there is no compulsion in religion. And of course, for those of you who aren't familiar with the word compulsion, that's essentially forcing or making someone. Okay? Now, these are two of the most highly popularized and followed books in the entire world of religion. And these are actually combatants to a certain extent. You have wars that have been fought for years pertaining to one religious preference versus the other. Many people have died. Many people's lives have been changed in ways that you wouldn't believe based on these two religions and the battle or the division that it causes. Now, for these books to both speak on conformity in the ways that I just read to you, I should let you know that the idea of conformity specifically to religion is wrong. If everyone wants to follow, or the majority wants to follow one specific religion, that is perfectly fine. That idea of conformity is a-okay. There's nothing wrong with it. But for the majority, or for those who follow that larger religion, to tell or preach that those who follow a totally separate religion are damned or are lesser, to say that, I'm not sure what type of creator you follow, but the creator I follow, if I just about everything that I do, especially now at this stage of my life, for a long time I was lost in darkness that you wouldn't believe. But for this stage of life that I'm in now, but just about every moment or every time that I'm about to do something that is against his will, that is, I can't even say against his will, because if not, he would prevent me from doing it. He wouldn't allow me from doing it. He wouldn't allow me to do it. But every moment I'm about to do something, because free will exists, for every moment where I'm about to do something that he would not approve of or that would not please him, I have a feeling. And I'm pretty sure, if not all of us, a lot of us have that as well. Or we once had it, but we've turned it off so many times to whereas we just ignore it when it comes. And that's something that we got to work on. We got to, that intuition, that feeling on the inside, that's as close to God as you're going to get. That feeling, that's more powerful than what's in here. That's more powerful than what's in here. That's the God within you, or the creator himself telling you or guiding you or pushing you or directing you in some form of fashion. It's just that a lot of us don't listen to it. And I'm no different. I'm not perfect. I don't have all the answers. I don't know everything. But I know what's in here. I know what's in here. And I know what's deep down inside. And I know as long as I follow that and I continue to try to grow as a person and I improve, no matter if I go far left while the rest of the world is going halfway right, I know I'm doing what's right for me. I know I'm doing what's right for this existence or the purpose that I've been created for. And that's all I'm doing now. Again, I appreciate you guys tuning in. This was, the very first Father's House Fellowship video titled Conformity, and how conformity directly relates to the purpose for Father's House Fellowship being created. And I appreciate you guys' time. I don't believe in talking people's heads off. Of course, it's 2018. People's attention span is very short. And, God has ways of making things so to fit for that time. God's mind, the creator's mind, is something that we could never fully understand. So I try my best not to question it, even if it's something I take as being negative or something that I don't agree with or I don't like. I've had to learn to do that. I've had my own share of experiences. I'm not just some guy just randomly just making a YouTube video. This video has a purpose. What it is, how far it goes, what impact, etc., I don't know. But I do know that God has placed this within me to do. And we'll continue doing it until He's pleased. But I appreciate you guys' time. I'll put up probably a few details pertaining to like social media, email information that'll be located around here somewhere, so that you guys can connect, not only with me but with one another. That's the idea. And we'll be releasing more videos soon. Again, God bless. Appreciate you guys' time. Have a great one. Okay. Be safe.